Welcome to Awakening You channel. If you appreciate what we do, please support us. Thank you. Beloved ones, I wish to have discourse on the quality of love known as diplomacy. This quality enables one to engage in spiritual practice in the midst of life, one that can bridge the external world with one's inner world. The practice of spiritual diplomacy is one that harmonizes by bringing agreement and understanding through the reduction of the fear level within others in order to bring about a more harmonious world. It is a high level of spiritual discipline that one practices by being a living example in order to bring others in the direction of a world of harmony and peace. By being mindful and aware of what is happening in each moment, one becomes aware of the greatness and wholeness of all life. By cultivating the understanding of the spiritual beliefs of other cultures that has made them who they are today, one gains new spiritual insights. They integrate the spiritual aspects of life by practicing these precepts in their everyday life. By the practice of open-hearted and open-minded awareness, one is available to life as it exists around them, in the conditions in which one finds them, but at the same time they are aware of the improvements within self that are needed. These individuals thereby change themselves and the world around them through the understanding that there is a chance to change a way of being in each moment of the current now moment. Diplomacy depends on one's ability and sensitivity to the higher truths of existence and having the ability to balance one's inner spiritual life with the outer world. The quality of one's spiritual search for these truths and the ability to integrate spirituality into all other parts of one's life is an important attribute to embody. There is a realization within self that the inhabitants of the earth are not as separate as they once thought and that the web of life encompasses all. It is the knowledge that what happens in one part of the world affects the entire world, and it is everyone's personal responsibility to love, respect and help each other as the Creator intended. Human diplomacy in its spiritual context opens up promising possibilities of alternative ways of relating to others. Through the practice of the honoring and elevating one's connection to the divine and that of others to a spiritual realm, there is a desire to transform relations with one another in a diplomatic, meaningful, and truthful way. By inner reflection and the knowing of oneself, one then becomes aware of the needs of the other. Taking control of situations in a way that leaves both parties feeling comfortable with the outcome is an important part of showing diplomacy. Practicing spiritual diplomacy requires one to make space in one's heart so that the other person or people can fit in order to realize the common divine origin of each. By extending hospitality, help and sustenance to others, one acknowledges that the divine exists within all and diligently works towards the common good. Diplomacy is the process of understanding divine will and being useful in serving others rather than to benefit self. It is an invitation to higher spiritual powers to become involved in order to change the understanding and perspective of both parties so that the greater good of all can be realized. Practicing diplomacy aims to reach a compromise which results in a win-win situation. The recognition of the spiritual dimensions of human interactions with respect to their history empowers everyone involved. By examining the spiritual histories of the people and land, it can help to better integrate an understanding of the ecological and social justice of right relationship within the world community. Taking control of situations in a way that leaves both parties feeling comfortable with the outcome is an important part of showing diplomacy. By coming to a better, diplomatic understanding of the diversity of attitudes, values, and practices of one's neighbor and community, it can be a means to move beyond limitations within the context of right relations with the greater community and one's own environment. All of humanity is dependent on nature, for it is the environment that maintains and sustains them. This environment extends beyond physical and national borders and affects the greater whole. The sustainability of one's environment requires a shift in consciousness from the management of resources to the management of individual self in the understanding that all of humanity is part of the environment around them. It is an interdependent relationship and is not separate. What affects one affects all, simply because there is only one earth that all of its inhabitants have to share in order for all to survive and prosper. By removing the resources from the earth, it depletes the balance of nature. There needs to be a greater diplomatic effort in understanding which expands beyond one's community and one's nation in its need to survive without regard for its impact on others. Developing effective diplomacy skills requires practice, good judgment and the quality of empathy in one's ability to see the world from another person's perspective. Being polite and courteous, respecting other people's viewpoints and cultural differences is important in all relationships. Diplomacy in right human relations on a global scale must take into account the concept that the world is ecologically interdependent and there needs to be cooperation amongst all peoples and nations towards the sustainability of their world. The earth must be remembered, honored, and celebrated through the awareness and consciousness of its inhabitants. There must be a higher value placed on its impact on the lives of the people that it is affecting. In diplomacy, there should be no room for political consideration which always overrides the greater awareness that all of humanity shares one another's fate and should be instead, promoting the well-being of each other. May your use of the quality of love called diplomacy in an appropriate manner lead to improved relationships with other people so that you might build and develop mutual respect that leads to mutually successful outcomes which take into consideration the higher good for all. I am Archangel Gabriel.